Hello, fellow inner and child empowerment group members. It's been a little while since I posted here, so I want to share a live video right here about the 6 stages of inner child healing. And I'm just coming off an amazing group with my Heal the Child Within program where we were talking about our teenage self. And so I was reminded to share with all of them about the stages of inner child healing. And I think it's important. I know when I found inner child work at around 21 years old and I had my awakening, I know how important it was to dive in and do the work, but it wasn't thrown out to me that there's different stages of healing. And a lot of us get stuck along the way in these different stages and we don't make it to the final stage, which is really empowerment. If anybody tells you that inner child work is anything different, then they're not giving you the full picture. We do want to find empowerment through inner child work, but there's a few other stages along the way. So I'm going to talk about them right now. And some of these stages, you may know them from the stages of grief, but I've applied them and I've come up with a few more to really represent the full spectrum of inner child healing. And I believe there's so many great teachers with inner child work out there, but I really want to encapsulate the full spectrum of inner child healing. I just don't want just to leave it at one aspect of inner child healing. I want everybody to get the full spectrum of this healing work and what it really means. So I'm going to start with stage 1. And bear with me because I can get a little long-winded as I explain. I'm going to try to keep it brief and to the point. Stage 1, and many of us get stuck in this stage. First, let me say all the stages actually. There's denial, there's bargaining, okay? And I've typed them out as well. Denial, bargaining, there is sadness, anger, acceptance, and then the final stage is empowerment, okay? So these are all the stages. Let me start with denial, okay? So many of us in denial, when we're living in denial, some of us may be in recovery, some of us may not have recovered, but some of us were told not to look at the past. What does the past have to do with anything? As you know from my previous posts and this group here, I believe the past has everything to do with what is happening in the present. In this present moment, what is repeating itself is everything that happened to us and everything we were wired to in our childhood. So if we deny the past, we're denying the seed of everything that's being creative right now, and we're denying ourselves an opportunity to change this moment, wherever you're at. This is the moment of power. So denial keeps us stuck. A lot of us were told, don't ever look at that because you're just going to be sad for years and stuck. If you look at the past, it's just going to get you stuck. That's another form of denial. Other forms of denial are the distractions that we come up with our addictions, whether it's food, whether it's entertainment, such as videos and online stuff that we can distract ourselves endlessly, whether it's news. Many of us distract ourselves with that, whether it's substances, marijuana, alcohol, whatever other substances you use to numb yourself. These are all distractions and forms of denial for feeling, because we really want to feel it to heal it. So denial really involves all those distractions, shopping as well. A lot of us are addicted just going out in the world, buying things to fill this void. And we may temporarily feel like we're fulfilling something inside of us, but what the child really wants is unconditional love and acceptance. And if we're stuck in denial, we can't give them that and we can't move forward. And if we're stuck in denial, this stuck part of ourself is really driving the bus and generating the story in our life. When we're in denial, we're in a place where we're blocked from all that stuff in our subconscious, and our subconscious is showing up, and Freud called it repetition compulsion. He was right about that. I don't know if he was right about everything, but he was definitely right that whatever we get wired to in our childhood, we will seek out over and over and over again in our life to try to fix what we couldn't fix back then. So we will find our mom, we will find our dad, we will find those negative teachers that we had. And this is all subconscious because we're in a place of denial and we're not willing to go back and dig deeper, or we just don't know how to. And we're in that survival mode, which is what I was talking about in my Heal the Child Within program today. We will often get stuck in this survival mode and we will end up playing out the story of our childhood over and over and over again. Most people, when they're in denial, it's that survival mode. And in that, they will never create a new story in their life. We find mom, we find dad, and if the people in our life and relationships are not like those people, we will turn those people into our mom and our dad in some way, shape, or form, because everything that's happening and stuck on the inside is playing out on the screen or on the movie screen of life. So denial keeps us stuck in so many ways. Another stage of healing that keeps us stuck is bargaining. In bargaining, we get stuck in this kind of thought. Why do I have to do this work? And why do other people just get away with riding off into the sunset and never having to do this work? Why do I have to dig deep and have feelings when other people are just able to practice the secret and manifest amazing things with affirmations? Affirmations work, but if we're still feeling things in the subconscious and we're not really integrating that child self in there, and we're bargaining with it, and we're using even spiritual bypasses, and there's many different spiritual bypasses going on right now. One form of spiritual bypass that I just mentioned is just jumping into affirmations. I believe in affirmations. I believe about what we think about in our life is what we get, but I also know on a deeper level our subconscious and the emotions that we feel are manifesting things in our life. So if we don't have access to the emotions and we're bargaining and not really wanting to go there and just take little shortcuts in our life, we will have some success in our life in some areas, but there will be other areas in our life where we'll be stuck and things will feel like they're not moving forward. And by the way, all of us at this time with COVID, we've been in a giant reflection back to us, a giant awakening saying, look at yourself. Do the inner work. Those of us who have done the inner work during this time are going to come out of this period of time really showing up on the field of life, fulfilling our dreams. If we're stuck in the bargaining phase, what we're really doing is we're just selling that child self short. We're not getting the full range of feeling that we need, because we do need to feel it to heal it, and we're not allowing ourselves to go there. Now, another form of bargaining is people who will say, well, Noah, I did this at rehab, or I did this with you 5 years ago. Why do I need to do this now? I've been doing inner child work for 25 years now. All right, I'm turning 47 this year. I'm still doing inner child work. Now, am I on the floor wailing and crying and having primal screams at this point? No, I'm not. All right, but if something comes up, I can feel it, I can integrate it, and I can heal it. All right, I'm not stuck trying to bargain with feelings. I'll go there, I'll pull myself out, but the majority of times, because I've done the inner child work, I have found the happy child, and the happy child is communicating to me all the time. The child is guiding me in my life, helping me stay on the sober path, helping me break through in my relationships, helping me spend important moments with my kids that we don't want to miss, and important moments letting my wife in to my heart so that we can actually connect and show up in relationships and get the love that we didn't get back then. And those of you who don't know my story, I was adopted at birth. Okay, I found my birth mother when I was 21, but I spent a lot of years in depression and sadness. I can go into my story. I'm not going to get lost in that right now. I'm going to carry on with these stages of healing and inner child healing. So we have the bargaining phase, and in the bargaining phase, we can get lost in many traps. Some of us might even get lost in wanting to just experience the happy child. Okay, if we just experience the happy child, it's going to limit the range of joy and passion that we can have in our life. We might feel like we're feeling joyful and happy all the time and positive all the time, and that's great and that's wonderful. But if we don't allow the other aspects of the subconscious and the shadow to come up for healing and integration, and by the way, there's no reason to be afraid. If you're an adult, you have the ability now to go back, feel, heal, and integrate. And you also have the ability to not get stuck in the sadness as well. So we don't need to bargain with that. Others of us during this time are taking shortcuts for the healing. Now, I'm not absolutely against it, but we want to allow the emotions, and we want to really do the deep inner work. Some people may be just going on journeys or doing experiences with psychedelics or other things. And again, I'm not 100% against that. Those of you in sobriety, I have a lot of thoughts about that. But if we're using that to bargain and just jump into a journey and do a journey every single month, instead of really also, or just really diving deep and doing the healing work and the integration and feeling it and connecting with our child selves or the parts of us that got injured and stuck back then we are doing ourselves a disservice. All of that stuff, if it's right for you, can happen, and you will experience great benefit when you do the inner work and we stop bargaining with ourselves and selling our child selves short, okay? We want to feel it to heal it. There are no bypasses in this. We will have to face the work and face the music sooner or later. And guess what? The music is just your child self singing a song to you saying, come back and find me. It's just a hurt child that needs love and acceptance. And once we can allow that, we will have tremendous breakthroughs in our life. So these first two stages of healing that I went over, denial and bargaining, are ones that can keep us stuck for years, okay? We don't want to be spinning in circles with our wheels in the mud over and over again, okay? We want to really allow the full range of healing. Now, as we move further on the healing, and sometimes we can go backwards, but really once you get past the denial and bargaining, it's hard to really get stuck in them ever again. As we go further, we go into the next stage, and this next stage is really stage 3, which is really feeling the sadness and feeling the hurt. And some of us can really get scared with this phase. Oh my God, the sadness is endless. Look, I've been there. I primal screamed. I teach breath work. I've gone into the void. I've come out of the void. And I used to go back in for full weekends, and I could get lost in that, and I could want to use marijuana. I could want to use alcohol. Fortunately, I got sober. I changed my life. We don't need that anymore in our life. Nobody needs to numb out. But we don't need to be afraid of feeling. The beauty about being a grown-up is we're all so powerful. Once we know that we can go back and heal and bring love to our child self, it is fully safe, because as a grown-up, we can keep ourselves safe now. As a child, we were powerless. We couldn't just move out, pack our bags, and hop on a train like Woody Guthrie. We needed people around us to survive, and we developed strategies to survive growing up. But one of the main strategies was not feeling and splitting off from our emotions or disassociating. Now, in this work, we want to feel it to heal it. We want to allow the sadness. And I always teach people to allow the sadness and titrate the sadness by going in for 20 minutes, writing to your inner child, having your child self write back to you. Okay, but we do want to allow it, and we don't want to shortchange that. So sadness is an important phase of healing that we don't want to avoid or bypass. Now, as we get into these deeper phases of healing, there's a lot of greatness that can come out of it once you make it past those first two stages. Then we go into anger. We start to acknowledge our anger and resentments and move up the ladder of feelings, okay? So sadness might feel like pretty depressing and low and like a bit of the dark night of the soul energy. But we start to move up this ladder, and as we move up the ladder, we start to have anger. Now, during this phase, some of us might want to throw out the baby with the bathwater or shoot the messenger or blame other people in our life. What we really want to do in this phase is write as many angry letters as we want to our parents, towards other people that we felt like never really saw us, never really protected us, never really got us. Now, we do not want to send these letters. We don't want to rush out to call somebody up and go off on them, okay? A lot of us have made those mistakes before, and unfortunately, many other programs and other people may tell you, call them up, tell them right away. No, we want to own these feelings. We want to express them. We want to release them. We might want to share them with a safe friend. This is the anger I'm feeling. But most of all, we want to allow the child self to rage out their anger and their hurt as we move up this ladder. You might even feel a combo of anger and sadness in this anger phase. And that's okay. But we want to allow it. It's important because we're moving up this ladder all the way towards where we're going, which is empowerment, all right? So as we move up this ladder and we're climbing in consciousness, we move through the anger, we release the anger. We might touch back on the sadness. And after that is cleared out, we get to a really amazing place because you've allowed all parts of yourself. And you can see I'm feeling something as I'm saying this because it's just so real. It's so real, it's so authentic for all of us. When we allow ourselves to move through these stages and allow that emotional current to flow forth, whether it's sadness, then we have anger, we get to another stage, and this is stage 5, and this is acceptance. We have acceptance, and acceptance is a really powerful part of our healing journey. When we've allowed ourselves to have all the feelings that we couldn't have back then, when we brought loving praise and love to the child selves, we start to feel something really emerge in there, that I can accept this part of me. I can accept that my child selves are a part of my life. I don't need to repress them anymore. I can accept that this story has played out in my life. And perhaps even in this, we can start to accept that maybe everything in our life has happened for a reason to bring us to this moment. This is where we start to have a glimpse of an awakening and a new type of spiritual connection where the child self feels loved and accepted. They start to share with us their gifts and their essence and who they were and their DNA blueprint for what they want to bring to this world. A lot of us are shortchanging our gifts if we never get to this acceptance and we don't allow the sadness and the anger. And now we're in acceptance, and the child self is communicating to us daily. I want to play music, I want to dance, I want to draw, I want to share my voice, I want to share my gifts with others. I want to be who I've always been in spirit, that I was never allowed to be in my childhood. And you might have ideas in this phase of all the great things you want to do that you never got to do as a child. In this phase, it's so important to make play dates to really add to that acceptance and that unconditional love. You might be trying out things that you were so afraid to try out in your childhood. It's important in this phase to try out those new things and to accept and embrace that you might do something that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. But that's part of reclaiming your gifts and your voice and your essence and your natural life force that nobody could ever have taken away from you, because it's still inside of you and it's just been waiting for you to come back and find it and unearth it and help the child self bring it out into your life and into your world. So this acceptance phase is powerful. Now, one more important part of this acceptance phase is really knowing that inside of everybody there is a wounded child. Now, there might be some things in our life that are unforgivable, but at least we can release the emotional pain. I'm not one to blame people forever, okay? We have to take emotional accountability, and we do the inner work. We don't want to be stuck for the rest of our life in the blame game, okay? A lot of us were there as a teenager. So we want to start to realize, just as we have a wounded child inside, everybody in this world has a wounded child inside. Now, some people may be really acting it out, okay? But from this phase, it can allow, where appropriate, forgiveness for others and understanding generational lineages. I always say 7 generations back, 7 generations forward, but the buck stops with you. It stops with me, because we're doing the inner work. We can release this so we don't have to pass it on to our future generations and our children and their grandchildren. Okay, so we can start to have a natural sense of forgiveness, that everybody has a wounded child. It doesn't allow for people to act out their pain for us, because we do want to protect our child self at all costs. That's super important as we move to this phase of acceptance. We're walking around acknowledging our child self. Our child self is sharing themselves and revealing themselves with us. So it's so important in this phase to really keep our child self safe. And this is where a lot of us can get stronger in our sobriety, stronger in breaking free of codependency, or what I call emotional agency, pleasing others for the rest of our life. We're not doing that anymore. We're accepting our child self, and we are showing up on the field of life. And this is where we move into the next phase. And this is the phase where we have kind of even the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we get into self-actualization. But I call this the empowerment phase. And that's why this group is called Inner Child Empowerment, because inner child work is empowering. It's all of these stages, but it does lead to a great sense of empowerment, because we've had the courage to show up, to get to acceptance, to allow sadness and anger, and to allow feelings when they come up. We have reached a point where we know all parts of ourselves. We know all parts of our subconscious, and we are on the field of life. And now when we show up with a powerful sense of I am and a powerful grown up, we can say no to things that don't work. We can take positive life affirming action and do for ourselves what was never done for us in our childhood. We can go after the right job. We can maintain long-term sobriety. We can live a healthy life and not experience major blocks in the health pillar of our life. We can experience healthy, loving relationships. And if something's not working, we can show up and ask for what we need in empowerment. We can show up and we can give ourselves what we need. I mean, the sky is the limit of what happens in this empowerment phase. And this is like an inner child enlightenment. I have all these parts of myself. I have 0 to 7. I have 7 to 14. I have 14 to 21. I have the whole world in my hands. And I have the possibility to create my best life now. And all of us have a true story that wants to emerge. And in this empowerment phase, we are showing up on the field of life powerfully, creating our truest story and the truest, fullest expression of who we were ever meant to be in spirit here in this world. And whatever we didn't experience back then, we are making sure that we are living our best life now and showing up and experiencing it here and now. So these are the stages of healing. I'll be sharing more in the coming weeks in this group again, as I'm feeling really called to share this work, especially during this time. It's such an important time for us to dive deep. I admire all of you for being here. If you have any questions about this, post the questions in the comment section, or just make comments on anything that touches you or inspires you. I admire all of you for having the courage to really feel it, to heal it, and move through these stages. Again, we have denial, we have bargaining, all right? We have sadness, we have anger, we have acceptance, and then we have, put it all together, empowerment. And that is who you are meant to be. That is who you were born to be. We are all born to thrive, okay? No matter what. Okay, so much love to all of you. I hope you can feel this energy that I'm showing up with, all right? I believe in all of you. And post your comments. Thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend.